Ambily K.K. She's the scientist from Soil and Agricultural Chemistry, Rubber Research Institute of India. She presents the paper on impact of removal of rubber plantation, a high altitude ecosystem for urbanization on carbon dioxide mitigating capacity by loss of carbon sink. I'd like to invite Dr. Ambily K.K.
Dr. Ambily, you please switch on your mic and video first. Then you can operate this. You started operating, but then you closed everything.
Yes, trying, sir.
Okay. Do again. Open your PowerPoint file.
Please close this one first.
Yes, trying.
Bye.
Yes, trying.
Hi, এখানে আমি আপডেট যেটা ওনাদেরকে
Yes, trying. Can you see, sir?
Yeah.
Slide is see.
Yeah.
Slide is also visible.
Yeah. You just give the full screen mode. Yeah. It's okay.
No. Good evening, everyone. And now let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Ambily K.K, scientist of Agronomy Soils Division of Rubber Research Institute of India, Kerala. And then the topic of my presentation is the impact of removal of rubber plantation, which is a high and midland ecosystem for urbanization on carbon dioxide mitigating capacity by loss of carbon sink in Kerala. And about rubber, then rubber is the species name is Hevea brasiliensis, which is a family of Euphorbiaceae, and it is actually a species of Amazon river forest and is indigenous to different countries. And now the rubber in India, rubber is cultivation is spreading over in these areas of the southern states and some western part of country, and also the northeastern state, that is the non-traditional area. Then in Kerala, there is different elevation topography is there. Then there is a mountain is there in 2,674 meter MSL is there, but the rubber is cultivating in the highlands and also in midlands. There is no rubber in the, in rare case only there is lowland rubber cultivation. And then in the case of rubber, the major crop is the latex, which is showing in the figure, that is the white viscous liquid that is extracted from the bark of the tree by a systematic wounding called tapping. And the economic produce and is the latex, and the major marketable form of rubber is the rubber sheets, that is ribbed smoked sheets, that is mainly used for the tire manufacturing. And as an introduction for the topic, that is the urbanization is aggressive nowadays for the purpose of development activities, and most of the agriculture areas, especially rubber plantations, undergoes construction activities in Kerala, India. And among the greenhouse gases, that is the major portion contributes to carbon dioxide, and the vegetation, especially big trees in the form of plantation and forest, as large sink for carbon, sink of carbon by the fixation of atmospheric carbon in its biomass by the process of photosynthesis. And the urban development and the resultant removal of land becoming a cause for near future loss of carbon storage, which exponentially increasing the CO2 in the atmosphere, that is GHGs, and global warming if it is taken in the form of tree plantation. Rubber tree, that is the major source of natural rubber, is having economic returns, is a long duration crop, that is about 25 to 30 years residency period is there for the tree, and it's a quick growing immature phase, that is up to 7 years, and having a high biomass, that is 1.2 ton per hectare accumulation during a lifespan of 25 to 30 years. And the carbon sequestration capacity of natural rubber plantation reported is 142 ton per hectare. That is a popular clone RRI 105. Actually, rubber, the clone is the varieties that is produced by breeding process. And then the tree biomass, the ton carbon is 142 ton per hectare is the carbon in tree biomass, and there is 23 ton per hectare in the soil. And there's a one scientist, the study is revealed that biomass accumulation of the clone RRI 105, that is at 20 years age, which accounts for 192 ton per hectare in its dry biomass. And another estimate is that a clone, that is PB217, for 19 years, this comes to 155 ton per hectare. And it was reported that rubber is a potential sink for carbon for sequestration of atmospheric carbon. The present study was an estimate of the carbon loss by the removal of rubber plantation for urbanization in the scenario of CO2 mitigating capacity of tree plantation. Then this figure shows the carbon content of rubber tree, that is around 42% carbon is there in the rubber tree, where the highest carbon content is in the sheet rubber, and followed by seeds. And in this, there is a the biomass, carbon stock, and carbon sink loss of the modern 400 series clones. That is a clone developed recently. That is the stage. Now it is the stage of establishing stage, and that is in the experimental field. That is taken for the study, and that is at a 23 years age. And here it can be seen that the clones were different in their biomass accumulation and carbon stock. And among the clones, RRI 429 is having higher carbon sink loss. And in this, it can be seen that these clones are in the different locations. That is the different location and which having extremely different climatic conditions. That is the in one north region that is having drought affected area, and in the southern state there is the rainfall is uniformly distributed. That is an area, and another is a central area that is a moderate climate, and most of the rubber is cultivating in this condition. And here
Dr.
also it can be seen that the
Dr. Ambily, you have 2 minutes. We have time. We have
Okay,
time
sir.
limit. Right.
Okay. Then there is the another 3 clones is here. There is also clonal difference is there, and here is the carbon in soil is depicting here. Here the soils usually rubber, the soil organic carbon is in a good condition, and then it is ranges to 1.2 to 2, and therefore the carbon sink in soil is also reasonable. And here the rubber is a deciduous tree, and there is annual litter fall is there, and at that time almost complete leaf is fallen down, and then the nutrients and the carbon is accumulating to soil annually to the soil. And this is actually the rubber sheet is the carbon content is very high, and it's also seed production of 3.2 tons per hectare per year is there. Therefore, the carbon stock is the 2.7 ton per hectare per year, and the carbon sink losses for a 23 years it is 43.2 tons, and for 30 years it is 62.1. And here the our overall estimate of the carbon sink loss of the rubber tree, that is from the tree biomass, soil, litter fall, rubber sheet, and rubber sheet. Then the estimate is carbon sink loss for 23 years is ton per hectare is 214.2 ton per hectare, and for the 30 years it is 341.6 tons per hectare. And from the study, the conclusion is that the observation from the study pointed out the serious carbon loss by the removal of rubber plantation for urbanization, one of the major development activities which is causing damage of self-sustained, carbon-friendly and economically sound perennial rubber ecosystem. And the present popular clone RRA105 existing in major share, that is 85% of the total rubber cultivation in India, accounts carbon sink loss of 57 ton per hectare, 57.5 ton per hectare, 43.2 ton per hectare for 23 years, and 148 ton per hectare, 75 ton per hectare, and 62.1 ton per hectare from biomass, litter fall, and sheet rubber respectively. The total carbon sink loss is 214.2 ton per hectare for 23 years and 341.5 ton per hectare for 30 years. The carbon sink loss in the form of stored carbon in soil is 56.5 with soil carbon content between 1.2 to 2%. Due to the growth variation in extreme climatic condition, the clones recorded differences in carbon stock and thereby carbon sink loss. Establishing modern clone RRA 414, 429 and 417 having higher growth rate and biomass recorded still higher, that is 44 to 50% carbon sink loss compared to the existing popular clone RRA 105. Among the central region of Kerala, central region Chetakal is showing higher loss, and lower loss was in the drought affected northern region Padiyur than Kanyakumari, which is a southern region, south region. And from there is some points to be for as a recommendation. That is, the implications of the study pointed out the loss of huge reservoir carbon in the tree crop ecosystem and environment issues related to CO2 mitigating capacity. It implies the need of close and strategic policies to the removal of long duration tree plantation with higher carbon sequestration potential, especially in highlands, to maintain the environment sustainability. And also the maintenance of simulated tree ecosystem with biodiversity rich and economically feasible green spaces must be a policy decision during urbanization. And maintenance of green spaces areas, including vegetation having higher carbon sequestration potential and trees having higher lignin content to increase the carbon capture for mitigating the impact of removal of plantation to some extent in the scenario of inevitable development and urban activities. And this rubber seedlings and a young plantation and rubber in the highlands and the rubber tree latex collection. That is all my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dr. Ambily K.K. Sorry for time limitation, though although it's we have limited time, so it's difficult to give extra time. Now